Welcome to this territory. Please come with ears to hear, eyes to see, and a mind and heart to learn. Come and start with us here, in a good way.
Hello again, friends, and welcome to Surrey. This next video is meant to familiarize you with Surrey's urban Indigenous community. As opposed to the land-based nations, the urban Indigenous community is made up of Indigenous peoples that come from other places across Canada and now reside here on these territories. The Canadian Constitution recognizes 3 distinct groups of Indigenous peoples. As you can see, Inuk or Inuit people make up about 1% of Surrey's urban Indigenous population. First Nations people make up about 54%, and Métis people make up about 42% of the Indigenous community. Here are some urban Indigenous community members to tell us more.
First of all, I'd like to thank Creator for this day. My name is Laura Augustina Fortin. I've been here on the Coast Salish Territories for 30 years. I'm a mother, grandmother, granddaughter. I was originally born in Manitoba. I'm from the Cree Métis Nation. My mother is Sotowan Cree. My father is very European French.
Tanse, my name is Philip Gladue, and I'm Métis Cree, originally from northern Alberta, but my home is BC now. I've been here since 1958, and you know, it's a beautiful place to be, and also I'm here to bring some knowledge to some of the people that I know that want to know our history.
Tanse, Wapaske, Pasquamistos, Esqueo, Nasigasan, Ochequisipi, Cree Nation, Ochinia. My traditional name means White Buffalo Woman, and my mom is from Fisher River Cree Nation, which is a part of Treaty 5 in Manitoba.
It's been exciting to be able to, you know, talk about the things that I grew up with and learning from my elders, the seniors. They're the ones that still today, the ones that are still around, they have knowledge of the history. And they are very strong too. They have a lot of compassion for people to teach them their way of life.
Yeah, when people come from a different country to come here, I absolutely I believe that they need to engage in Indigenous teachings. There should be some Indigenous culture and teachings that they make it mandatory, that they should be learning in school. They should be taking these classes. Absolutely.
The language is so important that our organizations, the Métis Nation of British Columbia, is working hard to bring the language back, and that's what they call Michif. The Michif language is a language mix of 5 languages. What the Métis speak, the original language, the trading language, I could say. And I learned to speak one part of it growing up. We spoke it at home, and we still speak it today. My siblings, when we get together, we speak it, and we have fun because the language is there's a lot of humor in our Indigenous languages. And
new people that are coming here from different countries, I think it should be taught to them how to be grateful and how to understand the Indigenous people and the ways and the territories, and how to respect, how to love, how to give back, how to offer Just to, like, the worldview is so torn and ragged and jagged. It needs to be in a collective way. We need to focus on saying, here's how we need to focus on this and come together. We need to teach them and make sure that they're aware of what's going on and how it should happen in a good way, so that we can all be glad to move forward.
The true connection is to the land, to all the natural habitat environment that we live in, what gives us life. So that's why sometimes it's hard for the mainstream to understand the two worldviews. And it's only now that they're starting to look at those two worldviews, so that we understand each other a little bit more.
The land has been ravaged and Mother Earth has been tilted for so long, and we've done this in our ignorance. And now we have to rectify and replace and put back what we've taken. We've destroyed, and we need to do it in a good way. And our children and our children's children need to do that. And we have to help them. We have to show them. We have to teach them so that it will stop here. And the ones that are coming here need to learn how to do that in a good way also, so that we can all move forward together. And not say, here, this is my hand, I want to reach out to you. Can you help me? Let's move forward together.
It's about you putting something in before you take it. That's our culture. The Métis, coming from our perspective, is we put something in before we take. Even the flowers that you see here. If I wanted to take a flower from there, I put tobacco first to honor Mother Earth for those flowers. And that's the way our culture is very strong, connected to the land, to all natural things in the world, in our whole life. And that's a thing that needs to be taught in our communities. You're not going to find it in the books. You can read about it, but you don't feel it.
One thing that newcomers can do to support the urban Indigenous community is really just learn about our history and what brought us into these city centers, what the history is, and through working with newcomers, we've really found a lot of common experiences, between Indigenous folks and newcomer folks, and some of those commonalities being that we were displaced from our original homelands through acts of colonization. And it's unfortunate because there is still inequitable policy in Canada. People think that colonization is a thing of the past, but we're still working with policies that are based in the doctrine of discovery and the papables. And there's been a movement to ask the Pope, as he apologizes to Indigenous people for the residential school crisis, to overturn the doctrine of discovery. And that was something that wasn't done in the most recent visit. So that doctrine, it legitimized the theft of our lands, but it also legitimized slavery in Africa. So there is a lot of commonality between our two fights.
The kids that I see in the schools are how they get along and how they accept one another with no race barriers or anything like that. It's awesome to watch, and how I guess open-minded they are. I also learned from that. I learned from the kids that I work with, because that's a different generation now from my generation. So I need to listen to them also, because they're giving something back already to the communities. these young children that are in education. I think we need to pay attention to them and work with them as much as we can to make them stronger people.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate, to build relations with the local land-based nations. And one thing I've learned about protocol that teaches us how to live here in a good way is that just about listening and witnessing. And we are visitors on these lands. If I was coming here pre-contact from my nation, I would have to observe the protocols and the practices of the nations whose lands I'm visiting. And so I use that a lot in my practice. What are the traditions of the people here? How does that teach me how to act in a way that's right? As I hear some youth saying, how do I come correct? And it's been really beautiful to learn about how the nations want us to come correct. So we have to be humble. We have to acknowledge that we're visitors. We have to acknowledge that we're coming here in peace to learn, and that their protocols and practices are the number one law here. They're the first laws of these lands. They predate Canada by tens of thousands of years. So the more we can learn about these laws, the more we can observe them and walk in a good way, I think, is one of the most powerful acts of decolonization that we can do.
Trying to learn from each other. Hey, I have a lot to learn yet. I never stop learning. That is my way of how I see life. I'm learning all the time. And it don't matter about the people, what color they are, what language they speak, but I still like to learn and be part of how can I contribute in the community. It's about learning about being involved in the community, making things easier and better for people in general.
And here, this is not my land, this is not my territory, but I've been here and I'm honored to be here, and every chance I get, I take my shoes off. Even, I say, thank you, Creator, for allowing me to be on this land. And
go to the land, go and sit by a river, listen to the wind and to the birds, to nature, everything that's natural. That is the Métis side that's the strongest.
I'm so grateful to be here. I'm grateful that you asked me to be here. I'm very honored. So I thank the people. I thank you. Hi, all my relations. Thank you.
There is no end. The language that I speak is the Michif-Cree language, and we don't have a goodbye. We always say, Minakawapimpten. We'll see you again, because it's not the end. We're just traveling through. We'll see each other on the other side. Again, there's no end. So it's hard for me to say, hey, goodbye for this session. I'll just say, we'll see you again. We'll see you again, and wherever we meet again.